Okay, so we are going to get started. This webinar today, by the way, is a very important topic, in my opinion, and it's something that, if you understand it, can really change the direction of your career in a lot of ways. And it's about understanding some point that seems to make people that I work with and have known over 25 years very successful who understand it, and those who don't, and they have a lot of problems and often end up exiting the practice of law completely. That's what I'm going to try to teach you about today. I'm going to try to really help you. I think that being on these webinars, by the way, I've been doing this for so long, and the people that do these webinars and are on these webinars have really succeeded a lot in their career by learning these kind of lessons. And this is, in my opinion, a real treat here because what we're going to be talking about today is going to be very helpful for you in what you do. This is a live webinar. So what that means is I will cover this topic, and then after the topic, I will take some questions. Today, it doesn't happen very often, but today is a day where I don't have very much time to take questions, but I will take questions about this topic or any topic that you may have about your career when we're done. But like I said, I'm on a little bit of a timeline just because I have to talk to a law firm about something that work with attorneys that want to go there. I can't really change that call. When an attorney, if you start working at a law firm, either as an associate or as a new attorney, there's always going to be people that you're introduced to that will have a negative opinion of your firm. These people are at every firm, they are always there, and they will share with you a negative view of the firm. I'll tell you how you're looking for jobs. Everybody's looking for jobs. All these people have left, and they'll speak in terms of us versus them, meaning the people that you're talking to, they will treat you as being against the management and so forth of a law firm. These people are at every firm. There are some firms where there's fewer of them than they're not. These type of firms typically do not even hire laterally. Firms like others where people are very good like that. But these types of attorneys do speak. Most firms, if people are speaking negatively of the firm, and in most firms, you will encounter a lot of people who will come into your office. You go out to lunch. They will leave off for drinks and they'll say negative things. You'll talk to them about they'll talk to you about how bad things are inside the firm. And the people that are doing this, they never stay in law firms very long. They are called parasites because they're sucking the energy and enthusiasm out of you, or causing you to think differently about the firm. And these people, by the way, what's important to understand is the people that they're talking about are the people that are paying them and giving them potential opportunity, whether it's to a partner increasing their book of business or an associate rising and getting more money and responsibility and all this stuff. And if people will listen to these conversations and spend time with those people, the law firm automatically thinks that you're part of it. The law firm, these people that are doing this never stick around. They typically go to other firms and then they find fault with that firm. Then they go to another firm and find fault with that firm. So it just never ends. There are people that have problems and maybe they don't want to be practicing law. Maybe they're mad about the quality of the firm they're at. Maybe they're mad about their pay, the work, whatever, but they're people that don't last. And one thing I can tell you is very interesting is there are people in every firm that last. They get through ups and downs. They're staying there. They're committed. And there are lots of people like that in every firm. So that's the kind of people that you want to be around. You want to be around people that that you don't want to be around. So I'll talk to you about this. This simple rule, and I'm going to talk about it a lot because there's different ways that it comes about, but you should never think about the people that are feeding you and supporting your family and giving you opportunity and work and training you. You go to a law firm and you're a young attorney, like 1 to 5 years, the firm is training you. You're paying you to train you. So you're going to be in the profession if you're 25 years old, people practice into their 80s. You could run for president when you're 80. So you're thinking like you're 25, you could be practicing for 60 more years. So you're just there to learn. And why would you talk negatively or think negatively about someone who's trained? So you should never think or act negatively towards people that support you. It's crazy. You should literally, if you like tattoos, you should tattoo it on your arm. It's crazy. And if you don't understand this rule, that you're going to be in trouble and you're going to have a nasty career that's not going to last and you have problems. And I see people from every week. I work with people that are losing their jobs or lost their jobs at top law firms because they didn't understand this. They go to great law schools and they go to firms and they think they're not good enough for them and they whatever. And a lot of people that could be very successful practicing law make this mistake. They leave the practice of law because they think that people are rude or mean, and it's a major problem because if they're not getting paid enough, they're spending time with negative people. And this is really the dumbest thing you can do is to show in any way that you're in conflict with the firm management. Once you do that, you are considered a virus. Like they need any firm or business to stay operational, especially a law firm needs to expel viruses. And large law firms know that they can attract people to work there all day. A lot of times it's very popular for the major law firms to, people will leave after 1 or 2 years or 3 years. And when they leave, they typically walk and have a negative attitude. And then they'll bring in laterals from firms that aren't necessarily as good, but they have a very positive attitude. So they keep the balance of how everything works. And the people who succeed in these large law firms, again, many have lesser pedigrees. They understand this rule and they're grateful for the opportunity to work with firms. I remember one attorney that wasn't necessarily that talented in bringing in business or anything like that, but he started his career with this partner and ended up being his right-hand man, meaning working directly with him and so forth, where the guy had $30 million in business for his entire career. And he never would say anything negative about anyone. Like that wasn't what he did. He was just very loyal to the partner and didn't associate or get involved with negativity. And when he has had a great career and he earns $1.5 million a year as kind of a service partner. And he got that by being loyal, not criticizing people, not getting involved in politics. And think about this, like just how partners in business and so forth are thinking about things. If you had $30 million in business, what kind of person would you want around you? Would you want someone who's against you, or would you want someone who would support you and never say anything negative and follow your demands of yours? So people are adept at that. They can tell if you're saying negative things about them when they walk in a room, see you talking, they can tell based on your attitude and how you do assignments, whether or not you're enthusiastic or just nasty about it. I mean, they are not enthusiastic, how office, things you do to help the firms. Leaders, people that can help you, only want, and you would be in the same position if you were they, only want people that are actually positive and are able to act positively towards them and make them feel good and support the firm, make the clients feel like there's a team on the other side, as opposed to people not liking to do the work. And most attorneys do not understand this role. They allow themselves to fall victim to this negativity. But the ones that are hired by the best firms and stay there, meaning it's one thing to go to a law firm and only be there 2 years, 3 years and so forth. But the people that are there for a very long period of time understand this rule and play by this game. And I've seen so many senior attorneys that don't have any business that stay employed with great firms years or decades. They may be counsel or whatever, a partner, but just by doing this, it's all you need to do to succeed most of the time. It's very important. If you understand how to get along with people in your firm, then you'll also understand how to potentially get along with clients and sort of thing. Law firms just want to hire people that they believe will be on their team. And being on a team means doing things for the team the way the team wants them done, not playing for yourself and playing all these games and being out for that. And partners and associates, they constantly move firms because they just don't understand this rule. They go to one place, they start getting negative. Maybe the negativity just drives them to start looking for a job, or maybe the firm stops giving them work because they pick up on their negativity, or all sorts of things can happen if you don't understand this rule. So it's a very important rule. And law firms let those people go. They push them out because in order to have a business that functions smoothly, you need to have everyone there on the same page. So what does that mean? That means that in order for the law firm to kind of work like a well-oiled machine, if they have people that are negative there that aren't on their team, they push them out. So just imagine your situation. Say you lived in a giant house and you had 4 housekeepers working for you every day. And they were, when you could tell that one of them was just dragging everyone down, negative. And when you gave them work to do, it wasn't excited. And so you would not give them much work. And then you would feel badly. You would think like you didn't like them. And that would create issues for you. That's something you need to think about. Do you want to be that person or associated with those people that are creating problems and may lose their jobs? I know one partner that had like a $10 million book of business. He's in Orange County, pretty decent attorney, and he joins a new law firm, and then he does this every few years. And then he comes in and they give him a amount of money that they're going to pay him initially. And then after a few years, he begins fighting with the management with the firm about believing he should be making more money and taking home more money and, getting more attorneys to help him and so forth. And he leaves. He does this like clockwork every few years. People do this that are associates in firms. When after a couple of years go by, he starts writing all these letters back and forth to management, upsetting people, saying he needs more compensation, saying they're backing out of their promises they made when they hired him. And the one thing, if this happened like once or a couple times over a 20-year or a 30-year career, or more than 30. But he's been doing this every 2 years for 10 years, 15, I don't know what it is, but 4 times over the past decade. And he's been getting a bad reputation. And law firms understand these patterns of negative behavior, and they choose to avoid attorneys like this rather than risk their work environments becoming a toxic work environment. Turnover, oftentimes in law firms, like I've studied turnover. Like when I say study it, it's not like I sit down and read books and things about it, but I observe it on a daily basis. And most of the turnover in law firms is law firms don't like seniors. So people, they often don't like senior attorneys. They don't like attorneys with multiple moves on their resume and moved a bunch of times. They don't like attorneys that have left the law firm and gone in-house. They definitely don't like attorneys who have been laid off in previous firms or been laid off or lost their jobs. The reason they don't hire those people is because they don't believe that those people are going to be positive. So I'll just give you an example because I want to explain what's going on here and why law firms don't like these things. So if you're a senior attorney and you're unemployed, you've had a bunch of moves, they will think that you weren't providing enough value wherever you're going, and you weren't getting enough people on your side to be someone they would want to defend and so forth, or you weren't figuring out how to get more work, all these sorts of things. They don't like that, so they'll think that you could have an attitude problem. They don't know, but they think you might have an attitude problem, so they don't bring you in. But it's not impossible for them to get jobs. They often don't bring you in. They often have bias against attorneys that have a lot of moves on their resume. So if you've moved firms several times, they will figure that you're just not able to get along wherever you go, that maybe you're negative, or maybe you find things wrong with the firm. Maybe they find things wrong with you. If you've gone in-house, they figure you don't like the law firm environment, so you wouldn't have done that otherwise. If you had been laid off or fired, they assume that they would have kept you around or not fired you if they really liked you, and they would find something for you to do regardless. But a lot of this is they want to keep negative people out. And the other thing is, and they're looking for that. They're looking for reasons to disqualify you. And then the other reason is just because if you have those things in your resume, they can choose between you and someone that doesn't. So they don't want to they want to keep the law firm running smoothly. They want people to be happy. They want people to constantly not be looking for jobs, because if that happens, it affects the quality of service that the clients receive. Because once you're on your way out, you may, or considering being on your way out, you may just be doing the minimum and not giving clients the best service. And they know that, so they're trying to be careful. And the model of every law firm is really, it's like any business, but especially the highest paid ones. It's about keeping out people that are negative and then keeping people in that are positive, pushing out negative attorneys with problems, or bringing everything down, and then just do something. And then perfect. keeping out attorneys that are negative and then keeping ones in that are positive. And that belief way of working, they believe will succeed. And they know troublemakers. If you're hanging around troublemakers and spending all your time with troublemakers, they are going to consider you as part of that. So you should avoid those people. A lot of law firms I've seen actually record the screens of attorneys. So they record the screens on their computers, which they're entitled to do. You could be working on a transaction that can't get out, and actually they record your screen. And so I've seen attorneys just fired because they posted something about their law firm online. I've seen attorneys harshly reviewed for spending too much time on attorney tabloid sites, meaning whatever, above the law, whatever, sites that they're spending a lot of time on, something they should be working. And firms are aware of this people. And if you're gravitating towards negative information and so forth, and that's what you're doing, that's perfectly fine. But if you go on tabloid websites, and I don't think no one's going to be mad at you for reviewing about the law or whatever, but if you're commenting on things, fueling fire, then they feel like you may be trouble, and they don't like that. So law firms need people that don't have this attitude. If you have a top ranked law school and you are able to bill a lot of hours, most attorneys do not completely understand this rule. And it's a very important rule. It's more important in many cases about where you went to school or the firm you're working at now or previously. It's very important. And attorneys need to understand, and you should too, that you need to support the people you're working for. And if you're not, then this is a problem. They will let you go. They will push you out. People do not want to work with people that are negative and unpleasant. And people, I see this all the frickin' time, just like all the time. People that went to top law schools and top firms. I talk to people like this several times a week, and they'll say things like, I'm very special and everyone should hire me. And I'm like, no, you're unemployed. This happened to you twice. You have to really come down to earth just because you went to a good law school. You cannot criticize that people that are hiring you. You want to have a good reputation. No matter what the law firm is you work at, you will encounter, if you are in any market. I don't care if you're in the Bay Area or you're in Los Angeles or Chicago or New York or whatever, or Miami, you are going to encounter people in the rest of your career that are likely that will be potential, can help you. They can help you by saying good things about you to other attorneys and that they encounter and you're there. They can help you by referring business to you if they can't do the work. They can help you by leaving a place for you at the firm. You want to come back for some reason. So you cannot, and everyone does this, almost everyone, but you absolutely cannot burn bridges. You need to be very positive with everyone, with all your peers, with the people that are your peers. You should be very positive and excited about it. But with your firm, you should be very excited about your firm. With your superiors, with the people on staff and so forth, you should be very excited about your firm. So all this stuff is just unbelievably important because it will change the course of your career. By changing the course of your career, you're going to change the course of your life because you're going to get business, you're going to get referrals, you're going to get jobs, you're going to be the last one let go. And it's just what it is. It's what it is. And any law firm that wants to get a hint that you may be against it for some reason, you're going to become someone the law firm doesn't want, someone that the law firm stops giving work to, or will review harshly in performance reviews. And people in a law firm will make money and be successful because the law firm will succeed to the extent they remove people that are not good for them and make sure that there's not people talking in a group that are negative about things. And this is what groups do. I was in this group with this business organization I'm part of, and there's 6 to 8 people in this group who show up to me once a month. And there was 2 people in that group that were very negative. So it made the situation for the other members very difficult because negative people were always talking back and forth about how problematic all this group was, how they didn't like it, and they got certain people in the group. And so the person, it's an organization that was supposed to keep it confidential. It was a business organization. So the person that was in charge of, there's maybe 40 people in the business organization, and then 5 of these groups, 8 people each. And to the person that was in charge of the business organization, I was like, this is just over. We have to just disband this 8-person group and start another one with other people. And this is what they think. If you can't get rid of the negative people, and then the group becomes negative, then it's not good. And tribes and businesses, and every group of people or business group is a tribe. And if you're in power and the law firm will expel you. They need to get rid of people that are not helping them, and they will remove you from the firms. That's just how it works. They will get rid of you, or it will not work well. Here's what happens when you are considered kind of part of this negative crew. They realize very quickly that you're likely to leave. So they don't want you working with their clients as much. They know you won't bill as much. So let's just stop giving you work. So they want you to leave sooner rather than later. When they do give you work, they'll give you busy work. They'll give you stupid things like, suing clients that didn't pay bills and things along those lines. They will give you poor reviews, meaning even if you think you're doing okay, they'll review you harshly because they want you to leave. They want people there that are positive. Sometimes they'll overload you with work. And so you will have so much work that you'll want to leave because of that too. Sometimes they may ignore you. They want to invite you to certain things, or when you see them firm gatherings or cocktail parties after work in the office, whatever, they will ignore you. People will not say hi to you in the halls. They will pretend like you don't exist. They will lay you off. They will fire you. They will ask you to leave. This is what happens. This is common. It happens in every freaking law firm. And this is what you want to avoid. And generally, there's a couple different reasons it happens. Sometimes it happens just because you're not being careful on your assignments and they think your work's crap and you're not improving, which just happens. Or more likely than not, they will fire you because of these social related problems. No one teaches this, by the way. I don't know why no one teaches this. I teach it. It's one of the most important things you can understand in your career. It will help you. I don't know why they don't teach this in law school. I just have no idea. So you have performance versus loyalty. A lot of time when people have issues in a firm, they believe that it's performance related, meaning that they think that they're getting fired, they're getting laid off, all these things are happening because of things that were related to their performance. But I will just be completely freaking upfront with you that most of the time, if an attorney makes a bad mistake, I've seen attorneys make mistakes. I saw one attorney, there was this huge case, and this attorney was filing what are called responding to requests for admission, which are like saying they admit you're liable for this crime, admit you, or the other side, admit you were discriminating against the person because of their race, whatever, by questions like that. And the person returned these requests without what's called a verification. And if you do that in California, then the stuff was deemed admitted, and then all these attorneys had to fix it. But in this particular case, it was like a big deal, and they really liked the attorney. So nothing happened. The attorney was in trouble. But if you make mistakes in a law firm and everyone really likes you and they think that you're part of their team, then they will keep you. They will keep you around, even if you make mistakes, and you'll get promoted because people like you. People defend people that they like. They don't, but if they don't like you, they'll be like, this is a perfect opportunity to send this person to the street and get rid of them. They'll be very serious and call you into a meeting and say you lost your job. And so the management and leadership of the firm, if they like you, there's lots of mistakes you can make and they will keep you on. And here's some examples of things I've learned, of course, in my career about things that have happened. One attorney that I know, he took some clients out golfing. In the morning, he got drunk and somebody took his clothes off and he was deposited by these people in a dumpster in a cardboard dumpster behind a Target by the golf course. And he had $20 taped to his forehead to get home. The law firm found out about this. They thought it was very funny. And he actually was promoted to a partner a few weeks later. They liked him. Now, this type of behavior in some firms nothing didn't come of it. I know what another person who was a junior partner, a large trial team, they were working in Detroit. And this junior partner called late at night, a prostitute, to his hotel room and he got in a fight with her and kicked her out of his room naked. Police came. The attorney was charged with a battery or something for hitting the prostitute, got out of it. The entire team of all these attorneys was kicked out of a freaking hotel room in the middle of the night, like 1 or 2 in the morning. And that firm still defended this guy and liked him. They thought it was funny. These are men, so I'm not trying to be offensive here. But that attorney, of course, kept his job. I know, like I told you, this another attorney forgot to file a motion, and the entire case was dismissed because of it. And the law firm couldn't get the case back on track, and so that attorney lost. And so, but my point to you is, the management of a law firm really likes you, and if they believe that you're on their side, there's nothing that you can do wrong. But if a law firm doesn't like you, there's some certain things. If a law firm does not believe you're on its side, then the firm can go out of its way to make your life unpleasant and to get rid of you. That's just how it works. And law firms will crush people that are not on their side. They will get rid of you. They will do whatever they can to make things difficult with you. The political tide will turn against you. They will churn you out, and because they want to increase the percentage of firm supporters. I know one very good firm in the Bay Area. This woman was there, and she was talking negatively to people just in passing, and not that much. And one day she was sitting in her office, had no negative performance reviews, nothing. She'd done nothing other than just being very direct and with partners and stuff when she was doing assignments, like not being pleasant with them, and then a bit direct. And then she was talking negatively to a few associates, and it was pretty obvious that she was. And so one day she was like, she got Berkeley. She was very smart, done really well there. And so one day she was sitting at Berkeley for law school. One day she was sitting in her office, and they just came in and said, one thing is a good fit with the league. Well, just like that. And nothing about her work quality, nothing, but she said later that the only reason this happened was because they believed that she was dragging them down. This firm was very established, a very good firm, but this is what happened. When a good law firm is hiring people, if you have the qualifications, you literally can do no wrong. But if the law firm doesn't believe you're on its side, they will often go out of their way to make life very unpleasant for you and to get rid of you. They will not keep you around. And law firms will literally crush the people who are not on their side, and entire politics and hiring apparatus of large law firms just is about constantly churning. That's why they're always doing lateral hiring. And again, people leave for their own reasons. It's not just negative people that are getting pushed out. It's happening all the time. There are obviously people that are going to take jobs in-house and going to other law firms and offer more opportunity. And so I'm not saying that this is like some thing that's just all the time, but honestly, when I say all the time, every attorney that's looking for a job, but again, it's very common. This is what happens when this is how law firms get rid of people and bring in better people that are positive. And I place attorneys every week, and 2 to 5, several per week. And a lot of these placements, it's very strange. I'll send someone that I'm just not really sure. Do they really have the qualifications to work here? They're at a mid-sized firm, not a great law school, but this firm, they have an opening, and maybe I'll try. I'm not going to try to upset the firm by saying someone's okay. I'll try. And the firm's, hey, hell yeah, we want to talk to this person. The person goes in there and they're just totally psyched, and they can't believe what a great opportunity it is to work with this bigger firm and a more prestigious firm that's paying more money. They go in there and they're like, hey, I'll work as hard as I possibly can, and I will do a great job for you, and that sort of thing. And I don't necessarily, it's very fun to work with these people that are so excited about going to work in a firm and grateful, even though they don't have the best qualifications. But a lot of times when I work with attorneys that are coming from big firms and going to another firm, then it's very helpful for us to work to help those firms. Or those candidates, because they're happy, then that's good. And the same thing, by the way, happens with partners, associates, and counsel. I talk to partners, associates, and counsel all the time that are unemployed or going to be unemployed pretty quickly. And a lot of times they're just very negative. They say the firm doesn't do this, they don't do this, they made this mistake. And instead of realizing that they may have caused their own problems. And there's some people that I love, like people that actually, and there are several of them actually show up to these, these webinars each week. I mean, there's hundreds of people, watching these, and these people are showing up like constantly learning. And a lot of them are just very senior people, like 25-year attorneys that, get jobs one after another as, when the firm they're at run out of work. One of them does asset finance or was financing airplanes and things. They're these unique practice careers, but they're just so likable and nice and appreciative of the opportunity wherever they go that the firm may have work and they'll give it to them. And if an attorney doesn't understand this rule, that they won't hire them. And, a lot of firms will focus just on your pedigree and not understand this, but the ones that grow and are good and have systems in them, they will make sure that attorney is following that sort of rule. Interesting point, I'll bring this up again, is there are a lot of firms out there that don't hire laterally. They only hire from their summer associate classes, the places like Cravat again, or Wachtell, Sullivan Cromwell for the most part, and all these other firms. And they don't do that because they want to shape you and then shape your culture, like the way you think about them and how you deal with issues and everything when you come in there, as opposed to not doing that and treating, and as opposed to allowing someone to come in that may have negative perceptions from another firm. And this is a priority. This is what the best law firms do, is they hire people that follow that. And I've seen in my time numerous law firms that have imploded. And law firms that implode typically will do all this lateral hiring. They'll hire attorneys from other firms, and then they'll bring them in. And then those attorneys that they hire, partners and things, often have problems at their previous firm. So those people will come in and be negative. And then the partners will be negative, the associates will be negative, and then they'll hire different partners and groups. And then you'll have these silos of people that don't like each other. And it's just, the place becomes very unpleasant to work. A lot of times firms will open up in a given city. Like they will open up in, an example is I worked at a firm called Dewey Ballantyne in LA, and they opened up with hiring a couple big groups of people from another large law firm, or another law firm in LA that wanted to leave. And that those attorneys left, and the ones that leave often have negative feelings about their existing firms. Then they brought that negativity over to Dewey. So this kind of stuff happens all the time. And you can generally tell the attorneys when you're reviewing their resume if they are in tune with this rule. It's very interesting. You can tell by things that you're seeing on the resume. And this is how people will evaluate you too. They will look at your resume and they'll understand these, and they'll look at kind of these elements. And these firms, if the attorney goes in-house, they generally know, and so they don't hire you again. I've seen it, but they generally don't. They generally do so because there's just something about the law firm environment that they don't like, whether it's the hours, getting business, or something else. And that's how that works. So there may be something about the law firm environment that the person doesn't like. So then why would they hire them? They don't want to bring someone that prefer to be somewhere else. And so they don't want someone that has negativity or issues and then probably leave for another in-house job in the future. And law firms almost never hire these attorneys. They just don't. You could take 100 of them and try to get their jobs in firms, and very few firms are going to bite to that. The person has basically rejected working in a law firm and probably did so because they didn't like the law firms. Prestigious law firms also don't like to hire people who set their careers in government or done anything other than a clerkship or spent several years in the U.S. Attorney's Office. If the attorney spent too much time in government, for example, they've generally shown that they don't have the sort of drive that the law firm needs for them to stay successful and be competitive. They often do not want to hire those kind of people as well. So that's one type of people. Attorneys going to government, when they get into a law firm environment, it's different. A lot of government jobs, you can leave at 5 p.m. every day. You don't take work home with you on the weekends, and people are competing to get business. And the work quality isn't examined at the same kind of level that it would be if you were working at a law firm, get work for clients you need to impress. And any time a law firm sees you spending a lot of time in another environment, they're more likely to not want to hire you, and that you look like you're not able to follow this rule. Prestigious law firms also don't like to hire attorneys that don't have business or have more than 8 years of experience. It's just because if you don't have business and you're moving because you don't have business, that means you're probably not making the cut at your existing firm. And if you're not making the cut at your existing firm, the odds are pretty strong that you're not going to make the cut at your next firm. And what that means is that if you had supported management enough, people liked you enough, they thought you were positive enough, you were able to network and get work from the people you work for enough, then you wouldn't be losing your job. Now, I'm not saying there are firms where I was talking to a guy yesterday and he was at a big firm. I think it was on Melvin, which is just an awesome law firm, great firm. And he didn't have a negative experience there. He was a Harvard Law School graduate, very talented. But the type of clients he was working on were like Disney, Sony, Toyota. I'm not saying those are the clients, but it's something like that. And in order to be successful and bring in business, he would have had to be able to bring in clients like that. And he thought it was going to be impossible. So he went and actually started a personal injury law firm that has like over 100 people working for us. It's freaking amazing in 3 years. But he knew that would be difficult for him to succeed there. So there's nothing wrong with someone leaving a firm like that. It doesn't mean negative. If you're on Melvin Myers and negative, if you feel like you can't bring in giant clients. And I'm not saying it's like that that was his conclusion. That's not what Melvin told him. And he just reached that conclusion on his own. What happens too is that once you move firms quite a bit, the law firm knows. It's almost, when I look at resumes, I can see people that are been practicing for 6 years and every year they move. And then they're like, there's an explanation for this and an explanation for that. And that's something that isn't necessarily always true. You have to understand why the person firms and what's up with that. And attorneys will often have resentment towards their law firm. And because they move, there might be something in their background that shows that. And you have to, people are examined if they're moving firms. It does look like to the new firm that there may be some issues with them, meaning that they're probably going to move there too as well. And there's something wrong. It's either the quality of their work, it's their attitude, that they just don't need money to get into it. They just don't hire them. Attorneys, another one is bringing this up. I talk to attorneys all the time that are doing one type of practice area and they want to move to another practice area. And when they do that, they generally find out very quickly that they're also not happy in the other practice area. So law firms will very rarely hire those people. It just doesn't make any sense to them. Why would you hire someone that's not doing your practice area if you're a law firm when you can hire plenty of people that have experience doing that practice area? So it's just crazy that you think you can do that. No, you can do that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but often that means if you're at a mid-sized firm, you maybe have to go to a smaller firm or someplace that would really value your background if you can't do the work. And many candidates who are trying to switch practice areas, law firms are very suspicious. So I had one candidate, he was in Orange County. He'd gone to Brigham Young University. He was at a top firm, one of the best firms in the country in Orange County. And he wanted to switch practice areas and he was doing corporate, wanted to go to litigation or something. And he was first in his class from, I think it was BYU, Brigham Young University. And he did this search and we applied to firms in Texas, all over California, Nevada. And he literally only got interest from one firm in Texas. And then eventually, because he was doing a great job at his firm, this is what I want to do and so forth. And they gave him a chance and let him switch practice areas. Because if you're really doing well at your existing firm and you say you want to switch practice areas, they may not like it because they need you to do one other thing. But if they do, then they'll like you and they'll let you do it. And the other thing, just that kind of violates this rule, and I know we talked about it a little bit already, but if you keep switching firms, if you switch firms, you can switch maybe once after your first year or once after your third year, and maybe again in your fifth or sixth year. But, if you're switching after your first year, then your second or first, third, fourth, fifth, then law firms will very quickly know that you're going to have issues in your next firm. And they're just going to be like, no, thanks. We're not going to participate in this because you're just going to come and leave. And so you've shot yourself in the foot, and they believe that you're doing that. It's probably because there's something wrong with you. They don't like you. You're not doing enough work. They think your hours are weird, might not be right, or you're not billing enough hours, or you're billing too many hours. And it's just all sorts of problems that they'll pick up and think if you move to too many firms, why would they hire you when they can hire people that haven't done that? That's an important thing. The best attorneys, law firms will not hire attorneys have been stuff on their resume that indicate you're some sort of activist. People that are activists can be trouble. You have people that are advertising the Federalist Society and being part of the Republican Party. You have people that are advertising being part of the very active in Democratic politics, or people that are in whatever. They have strong opinions about race, sex, all these sorts of things, and they advertise them on their resume. And there's nothing wrong with someone being a political group or putting themselves out as against anything. You can have all the opinions you want, but the problem is you have to realize that if you're people that are like that, they show up in law firms and they bring their advertising, that they bring that with them, and people get very mad. The country's practically divided. Democrats and Republicans, they hate each other, and Democrats hate Republicans. Even just a person who's a Republican. I'm not saying that they all do, but in general, there's a lot of tension on both sides. There's different networks. So you have CNN versus Fox, and give you different things, and people that watch, they pick juries. They ask them where they get their news. It's the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, because obviously they're different types of papers. And so it's just the whole country is divided. And so if you want to put yourself on the side of one issue or another, you're welcome to, but it's going to hurt you. I remember years ago when I started BCG, there was a woman that had gone to Stanford Law School, and something terrible happened to her. She'd been raped when she was 15 by her boyfriend or something, and very upset about it. She pressed charges and went away. I don't know what happened, but it was a very bad thing. And she joined all these organizations for women that had been raped. And they were like, you've been raped. That was the organization, started organizations. Her resume was just littered. There was all these things about it. And it was obviously very horrible what happened to her. But to list that she had pro bono at her firm representing, prosecuting, these are personal things that are very horrible to have experienced, but sometimes this stuff makes people that are reviewing your resume uncomfortable. And other people have very strong opinions about politics or different racial groups or things that kind of bring Federal Society examples, some that sure that are. So it's when you put this stuff on your resume, it can hurt your chances of getting a job. Again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being in these groups or opinions, but the point is that you don't want to ever try to take sides in something, because then the law firm will think that you could be trouble. Example would be someone who's very conservative, might like all sorts of diversity in a firm, and someone who's very liberal might not like. It's just, you have to be very careful. And I bring this up and I'm spending so much time talking about it because I've seen people like destroy their careers pretty much and not be employable with this kind of stuff. I had one candidate, and I actually hired him to help our company do interview prep. And another one of these guys in the top of his class at Columbia or something, or NYU, he worked at several large law firms. But his resume mentioned that he was gay and part of these gay groups something like 27 times on a one-page resume, because he had written papers, he'd been part of groups, he'd done all of this stuff. And again, no one's going to hold that against him, but you have to just make your priority look like you're there to do work for the firm. Because if you're not, and you have other things, the law firm may believe that there's something wrong. And so this particular guy that's working on it wasn't in the interviews, something wrong with me. I couldn't tell him that was wrong with his resume, because he would have been very upset and I was my employee at that point. But I hired him because I felt sorry that he was in this situation and people weren't interviewing. But it was, in my opinion, when you politicize your resume and people think that you might be against something, you just don't want to look like you don't have a us versus them attitude. And this guy, I'm thinking of certain, but people may have thought that. Not that they hate people that are gays or lesbians, Republicans or Democrats, but once you look like that's a real thing on your resume, you politicized it. activists definitely have a us versus them attitude. And if someone's like that, the firm's not going to hire you. And activists generally have a difficult time in law firms because their activism is often more important to them than their jobs. And they look at the world in this activist way. And another thing that people do, this is something that does not work out. I talk to attorneys every week that have had these great backgrounds. I accept them into BCG. I either interview them prior to us giving them a list of firms to apply to, either do that, or if I don't interview them, then I will talk to them. Someone else in our company will talk to them, and I will talk to them when they're interviewing. And I encounter people every week that are, every week, probably twice a month, that are hiring are suing their former employers. Give me all these reasons that they're suing them. And it could be something as simple as the firm's been in existence for 10 years. They've elevated 4 men to partner and only 1 woman, and this is wrong. And I confronted management with it and they fired me. All these types of things happen each way. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having these grievances. But if you sue an employer, most employers will know what it is, learn about it, and other employers learn about it, and it can help you because it will, even posting things on social media. I've seen people not get jobs because something they posted on social media that they found. I saw one woman that was working at a big firm and a bunch of partners from that big firm went over to another firm. And when she was going over, she was one associate with a couple of associates. The new firm looked her up on Facebook or wherever, and she posted something like, I hate practicing law, but it pays the bills. And they were just like, no way, like she's not coming over. And so she lost her job, or she was part of that group, I think. Anyway, so she ended up losing her job at both firms and had a very difficult time because she switched from litigation to corporate and only been there, and just a bunch of things that happen. Regardless, if you sue a former employer, it can make it look like you have this us versus them, and makes it very difficult to get another job. I told you just about that. Something that's exactly what happened. I got a little wrong. But yeah, so law firms also will not hire people who have too much independence, meaning they don't like people. They've done things like been entrepreneurs. Law firms hate seeing entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur is someone that's probably going to go out and start their own business, either doing something else, practicing law, or they will try to steal the firm's clients and go start their own business. But eventually they will do something entrepreneurial because it's just something that's right into them, or genetic, or whatever. They just have this entrepreneurial streak. That person probably won't be in a law firm. That person can. I was interesting when I was practicing law. I was an entrepreneur, and I've been a contractor. Like I started an asphalt business, and then I was sitting in this law firm. And back then the salaries weren't as high, so maybe I was making like 120. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I'm sitting here working all year, making 120. Driving in the office, seeing this stupid office all day. And I could go back to Detroit and make $120,000 in the summer. And I would have all this time off. And not only that, I could be building a business, because the more asphalt work I did, the more clients I would get, the more I would have and things. And so it just, to me, was like, as an entrepreneur, this is insane. What am I doing? And that's how entrepreneurs think. They look at the world and they look at opportunity. A lot of times the law firm will balance out. Being an attorney is actually very academic. And it requires hard work. It requires commitment. And it's definitely not something for most attorneys, unless you're starting their own firm. We're very good at getting business and working without and understand this. Most of the time it's not entrepreneurial. And like myself, people will realize that they can make a lot more money doing other things and leave the practice of law. And they'll also tell people in the firm this. They'll say things like, I remember one guy came into my office, and he was a very smart guy from Harvard Law School. And he said, this is crazy. I'm importing something stupid like basketballs from China, and I've been selling them to school systems and making $25,000 a month. And it's only taking some of my time on the weekend. I'm just renting. So this is what the way entrepreneurs think. And so people that are always looking for the next best thing and thinking that there's better ways to make money and to be successful than practicing law are not good people. So if they see entrepreneurial stuff on your resume, they're going to back off. They also don't like seeing people that are overly ambitious and want to become extremely rich and successful right away. because someone that's overly ambitious isn't going to have a lot of patience for politics. They're going to try to figure out like what's going on in the firm quickly and try to make money and get things and rise quickly. And they will leave for better opportunities or rise quickly or somewhere else. They will try to get business, and instead of working for the partners what they need, they will pressure you to get more money from business and all these things. So people that work in law firms, especially associates, they want soldiers and not generals. They want people that are going to respect them and stay there for a long time. And they certainly don't want people that are overly ambitious. And that is, there's nothing wrong with being ambitious. When I say ambitious to the extent that if that attorney doesn't get exactly what they want, they're going to leave. I've never seen an attorney, this is true, and I'm sure it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've literally never seen an attorney that was rehired by the firm from which they were laid off. But at the same time, I've seen those same firms hire tons of attorneys right after they let go of the attorney. One of the things I'll say that you're sitting here learning what you're learning is many times people that are homeless or become different types of criminals. They don't know how to make a job. They don't know how to do a job. They don't know how to work for people, or they have issues and they're not able to do these things. And as a consequence, they become feel like they've been rejected by society. And maybe it's a good thing I saw the simplest people, because feeling rejected and not supported by society creates a lot of upset, and it drives people to have alcohol and drug problems to mask the pain, or they're unable to support themselves. It's just what it is. Most of the time when you find people that are homeless or having a lot of issues in their career, it's really can be related to their inability to understand the rules of work, or even when people are in school. Being in school, it's all about learning how to produce work for others. And so it's very interesting. But the reason I bring all this up is because as an attorney, you need to be able to stay employed, and you need to be able to stay employed for your self-esteem, to feel like you have a sense of purpose. And I can't tell you how many attorneys that I've seen that have become partners of big firms. I'm thinking of someone from White & Case and lots of big firms, and then they become partners, and then their wives and families very excited about them, and things are going well, and then those same people become negative the firm because they're not going to pay them out, and they lose their jobs, and then they lose their spouses, and people divorce them, and it's just very hard, and then they have very difficult careers. So this stuff I'm teaching you today is incredibly important. It can save your life. Because there are people that are literally cast out of the legal profession, and it's because of this sort of negativity. It's because they don't know how to appreciate the people they're working for, and people they're working for don't feel good about them. I've hired, this is interesting, running a asphalt company for so long, or hiring people to do construction on my properties. If you hire someone who's like a bum type person, meaning they don't work a lot, their whole objective is to go into an employer and get as much money and so forth as they can, as quickly as they can. They never commit. They just want to do a job and get paid. And then there's other people that come in and they're very grateful for the opportunity to do the work. If they are hired, they will stay and give it their best. And these are the kind of people that employers want to hire. And those sorts of people are rare. You have people that are out for their own self-interest very quickly. And one of the ways that people get rid of people they don't like is they do layoffs. Most of the time the layoffs are real, but other times they are actually not real. They're just trying to get rid of people that are negative. Law firms often will not hire solo practitioners. Now, I'm not saying they always do that, because they do hire solo practitioners, but law firms, people that are solo practitioners often are solo practitioners because they couldn't get along in firms, or they wanted to do everything on their own, or they have this attitude and they bring it with to their new firm. Now, I want to be clear with you again that this is not something that always happens, but it does happen. And so law firms often are very resistant to hiring solo practitioners. And I've found that the majority of placements that I make are with people that don't necessarily have great qualifications, but they know how to follow this rule. They know how to do things in a way that makes it likely that the law, even that makes the law firm think that they're going to contribute and not be negative. And honestly, this is the majority of placements. And when I see people, what happens a lot of times with attorneys that don't get jobs, or is that they don't stay employed, is that they will get offers and then they'll be like, they want to think about it and so forth. And then anytime they're doing that, it often looks like, especially if they don't have other offers, that things are not going to work out for them at the next firm. And if the law firm hires them, and it just happens all the time. People that, interview well and do well are always much more likely to get positions when they're excited about something, rather than the opposite. So the recruiter, I've noticed that many times if an attorney is relocating from a city that they didn't grow up in. This is a very interesting point, and it'll help you in your job search. And they're going to another city where they grew up and their home, that's where home from. This is fascinating thing. So say you are working in, Boston, and you're from, what would be a decent example? You're from Portland, Oregon. And so you decide that you've had enough of Boston. You want to move home so you can be closer to your parents and maybe your wife's parents or husband's parents, because you're having kids and they can help take care of them. And you just will feel much more comfortable being there. And by the way, house prices are better and all these things. And that attorney is much more likely to get a position with another major law firm if he was that they were simply trying to move to a city where they're currently working. And so meaning you want to move from Boston to Portland or Portland to Boston, whatever, but you're much more likely to get a job if you do that than if you're looking for jobs in your own city. So very interesting. So say you're looking in Boston, you're from Boston, and you're looking at a certain caliber firm, you might get a couple interviews. But if you say I'm going back to Portland and I'm from Boston, you'll probably get a lot of interviews to do your search right. This has always been the case. Ever since I started this career 25 years ago, I've seen this over and over again. And if an attorney is relocating home from where they're from, they have reason for doing this. It's generally considered that they're leaving their current firms, not because they have some conflict of management, but because the firms are much more suspicious of you if you're trying to get a job in the city you're from than if you're moving to a market if you're trying to get a job in a city you're currently working, than if you're moving to a market where you're from. Just fascinating. And the idea is that if you're moving home, you're going to settle down, you're going to work at that firm the rest of your career. You're going to be joining people that are, working in the same area you're from, and everything is loyal to your team and so forth. And this is great. But if an attorney's moving just around their own city, the presumption of a lot of firms, and they're trying to think about this, and it may be not necessarily articulated, but this is what they're thinking. They want to make sure that you're not one of these people that may be getting pushed out. Very, very interesting. And the law firm is much likely to push someone out because they believe you're a danger to the morale than they are necessarily for performance reasons. Very, very interesting. And a lot of times, one of the other types of placements that I make a lot, it's a substantial portion. So I make a lot of placements of people moving home, but I also make a lot of placements of people moving from a less prestigious firm to a more prestigious firm, which I think I actually talked about earlier. But the idea of that being that if the attorney is moving to a more prestigious firm, then they're moving up. They're not upset with their current firm. They just want to get better. They want to work on more sophisticated manners. They want to work on larger clients. They want to get better training. And law firms love that. I mean, if you're trying to move up, then people respect that. People respect people that are trying to do something to get better, that have ambition, like this love. And so this is what a lot of the placements at the lateral level are with large firms are this. And if the attorney's excited about improving and doing better work, and they love the practice of law, and they're not moving because of issues with the management, but because they want to improve and commit to a firm with more sophisticated work, that's very good. Law firms love that. And if they portray the move like this, it can work very well. And the law firm will think, wow, this person is positive. They're ambitious. They love the practice of law. They're trying to get better, and law firms will love that. It's a very good thing. So this is a few conclusions of this webinar, but if if the law firm thinks you're moving for anything that's any bad opinions about them or so forth, they want people that are not negative and that will be enthusiastic about the firm and do good work for them. And the whole law firm model, and actually the model of a lot of businesses, that is meant to keep people there that are supporting the firm and get rid of people who are not. And law firms want the sort of people that are committing to management, supporting it. And I'm sorry to bring that up and not bring this up, but talk about this again and again. But this is a huge problem. I would estimate that 20 to 25% of attorneys are held back by this. Now, I'm not saying they all leave the practice of law by it, but I'm saying that they surround themselves with negativity and they go to places that are not as good as they can work with. They're not as happy as they can be. And anytime I talk to partners and associates and counsel who are succeeding, a lot of times things will come out about how much they dislike their practice. And that's just good. Or they dislike the practice of law, they dislike this, or they dislike their last firm. And all these sorts of many things happen. And if an attorney is succeeding, oftentimes all they're talking about is how they're on the same team as the people running the law firm, how they like it, how the firm's doing this right, and how they love to stay there, but there's this and this, start positive. And when law firms are managed to keep people on the same team, they're your best firms like Munger Tolles, Latham, Sullivan Cromwell, Wachtell, Gibson Dunn, all these firms are successful and have endured largely because they are so good at nurturing and maintaining a culture where everyone views themselves on the same team. This helps. They stay strong because they're able to do this and enforce these positive cultures. Law firms often have problems, like I said, and that fail due because they don't splinter and everyone is on the same team and things are working well. So attorney success is really ultimately your success will be dependent in many cases on your ability to do this. I've been talking for an hour plus an hour and a half. And the reason I'm spending so much time on this and really trying to drill this in your head is if you do this, like you will succeed. And if you don't, but you won't succeed. So why wouldn't you do this? Like, why do you have to get on the negative side of things? Why do you have to be part of a group that's negative? Why do you have to go be negative with others? Why do you have to have resentment towards the people that are feeding you and giving you work? And that's the thing too, that I would say. I talk to attorneys all day long and they tell me things like, I this firm because of this and this culture in this firm and it's like this. And a lot of times or I don't think they could pay me enough and they might be unemployed. And one of the things that I, say to these people all the time is, listen, man, like you cannot be critical of this place. They have work. Like a lot of places don't have work. Like they actually have work for you to do. And your whole survival, the whole survival of an attorney is based on having work. Like you have to be someplace that's giving you work, or you have to bring in your own work, or you have to get more work out of other people that have work, and you have to get work. If you're working for the attorneys, you have to get work. That's the game. So you need to be nice to everyone. If you're an associate or partner that needs to get business from other partners or get a partner, those people are giving you work. They are your clients. You are like, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You respect them because they have work. And this is extremely important. Like every attorney needs to understand this. Like you cannot just go into a firm and think that you can be happy and stuff with people that are giving you work. That's a blessing. And the more work you get, the more opportunity you often have. So it's just appreciated that you do that. And I've seen lots of attorneys who followed this rule, and I've seen attorneys that haven't. And honestly, probably one of the most important things you can do to succeed in your career. It's a huge choice. You have to decide what you're going to do. If you watch this webinar, you are probably 95 ahead of at this understanding, ahead of probably, 80% of all attorneys that don't take things for granted and do their best to support the people that are giving them work. But again, say a significant portion, more than half of attorneys, I don't know what the numbers are, but they get this wrong. And therefore they don't go as far as they could. And they become victims and they just don't have the lives and careers that they could. And that's why I want you to have the life and career that you could. I want you to have the tools to be employed and stay employed by others. And I want you to have the tools to win in this profession and your life instead of the opposite. I certainly thank you for watching this. I think that you are really exceptional for having taken the time to watch this and the fact that you stuck around, understand it. This is one of those webinars where actually having no one doesn't affect hardly anyone. Means a couple of people, maybe 5 people out of hundreds have dropped off. So I think that this is something that you're getting something out of, and I appreciate that. And I think it's just great. So I'm going to take a quick break. And so everybody can whatever, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes and then we'll do some questions. I actually don't have a lot of time. I was thinking this webinar would go like an hour and I would have some time for questions, but I do want to take a few questions. And then if there are questions that you have asked that I don't answer, but you are certainly welcome to come back next week and I will try to answer them then. So I will be back in just a moment and then maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And then when I come back, we'll do questions, a few questions, and then end the webinar. Thanks. All right, so let's go to questions. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull up my piece of paper. I will share my screen in just 1 second. Go Word document. Sorry, give me 1 second. Here we go. So we'll do questions. Pull these up. Wow, there's actually quite a few questions. So I hope I'm able to answer most of them. Okay, so this is a good question. Person says, I've noticed a pattern where associates who excel at network, socializing with partners seem to advance more quickly than those who solely focus on their legal work. How can I compete in this environment? Okay, so that's a good point. People that socialize often are able to do that, and more times than people that focus on their legal work. Obviously, law firms need people that work hard as opposed to socializing. But one thing I'll tell you is it's interesting. You know, I've talked to attorneys that have huge books of business and so forth. And most of the time, what those attorneys do, it's very interesting. They will spend a significant amount of their time networking and trying to get to know people and so forth, as opposed to out in anyone can give them work, whether it's people in their own firm, but usually people that are not in their firm that could be potential clients. So they will know for those people, they'll put in a significant amount of time doing that, to the extent that some of the most successful attorneys will work like 2,000 hours a year for the firm. They'll spend another 2,000 hours a year networking. So it's important. It's very difficult to do if you're at giant law firms and need giant clients, but your ability to network is very important to succeed. So I'm trying to answer questions, but I want to make sure they're all different. I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. It's a good question. This person says, I've been involved in a lawsuit in the past unrelated to my private law practice, but it's on my record. This history involved being negligent by prestigious law firms, even if it's not related to legal help. The answer to that is no. If you did some sort of lawsuit where you sued someone that did something wrong to you, or as long as it's an employer and too weird, then you'll probably be, okay. Prestigious law firms aren't going to be mad at you because you sued someone or something and did something wrong with you. As long as it doesn't make you look too bad. If it makes you look like you were greedy or you did something wrong and someone sued you, then that's not always a good thing, because law firms want to be under the radar. They don't want people talking about them negatively. That's something you need to be careful about. Right. Let's see here. Okay, so this person is a good question. They say, I've been recently involved, setback. I was let go from my previous law firm due to downsizing. Despite our qualifications, I'm worried how this might impact my chances of landing position for his firm. Could you share some insights on how I can address this in the interviews and demonstrate that I'm still a strong candidate despite the layoff? Yes, depending. So sometimes law firms will let people go in different practice areas. Capital markets is a practice area that kind of goes up and down depending on the economy. And if you're let go from something like that, it's not the end of the world. The problem is when you're let go from any major firm and you're unemployed, you're competing for jobs against people that are employed. So the problem with that is, unless you have a really good network, you're going to have a very difficult time finding a new job. So if you're let go from a firm and you're competing with people that are employed, it's going to be very difficult. Markets like New York, or New York's a perfect example, or the Bay Area, where there's going to be lots of people like you, you're going to have a difficult time finding a job because just, you're competing against people that are employed. And so they're more likely to be very good in your practice area than someone who's not working, because if you're not working, then either you left on your own because you didn't like the firm, it could be a personality problem, or just for another idea that the firm let you go, whatever, you were just let go and they didn't let other people go. So anytime a firm lets 8 people go out of 10 in a practice area, which they probably wouldn't do, but 2 people that are left are obviously going to be the most valuable to the firm. So people know that. So the only way of saying you weren't the most valuable person is to consider that if they didn't let everyone go and they let you go, then you must not have been providing enough value. It's just the way the firms. So it's important for you to understand when you're competing with other people for jobs. See, that seems questions. Okay, this is a good question. I think this may be the last one I would answer, but there's. Okay, so this person says, as someone who has transitioned from a law firm to an in-house role and have now considered returning to a law firm, I'm curious about the common misconceptions or biases that firms may have about candidates with in-house experience. How can I address these preconceptions during the interview process to increase my chances of success? Okay, so if you go in-house, it's different. You are working for one client, and that one client is taking your advice, probably doesn't know what a good lawyer is from a bad lawyer. So your work is not being patrolled in the way it would be if you're working with a law firm. They're having certain types of metrics for you to succeed. People are looking for your work, to see your hours. That sort of stuff doesn't happen in-house. The other problem going in-house is that once you go in-house, what in-house attorneys typically do is they're very proud of their connection with their former firm and ability to give them work. They love the idea of being able to reach out to firms and be treated well because they're giving them work, and the law firm is very nice to them. And they love the idea of analyzing things and giving them to someone else. And so in-house attorneys often become experts in referring work out to others. And the longer they do it, the more they do it. And typically what happens in-house is in-house employers want to hire attorneys that are fresh and are more likely to be able to buy fresh. They're attorneys that are right out of school, right out of the law firm, and willing to work hard. And most attorneys often don't. Now, there's a lot of exceptions to that with patent attorneys when there's departments and other big law firm departments in all sorts of places. But that's just an example of how that can work and why in-house attorneys aren't necessarily trusted by law firms. The other thing you have to understand is if someone's working at a good law firm, like whatever, Gibson Dunn, Ropes and Gray, whatever the law firm is, then they are more likely than not to be, employers know the quality of law firm employers, know the quality of work expected at those top firms. So they like people from those top firms. But if you are coming from in-house, you don't know the quality of work you're doing. They have no idea. All they know is that you left a law firm environment, or you just never worked in a law firm environment to work in-house at some employer. They have no idea the quality of work they do. It's just, they're completely in the dark. And so you can talk all about what a great attorney you are, but they just don't know. And when you work in-house, it's funny, like anything you do, like you do for the attorney, like you get them some documents, you write a little memo, they'll write back and say, wow, that's incredible. I've never seen such a good memo. You're a great attorney. They'll flatter the in-house attorney all the time. So the in-house attorney will give them more work. And sometimes it's not the same. So it's like law firms are very cautious about hiring people for in-house. Now there's all sorts of exceptions. There's certain types of real estate attorneys. There's attorneys that do things, ERISA or patent law or different types of things, or litigate inside of an insurance company, defending auto accidents, and go to another insurance defense firm. There's all sorts of exceptions, but in general, it's harder for an attorney to get a position that is coming from in-house than a law firm, because they're different animals. Why would a law firm risk hiring someone from in-house? Okay, let me see. So there's a lot of questions here about firms emphasizing social skills. I personally don't think that's a huge thing. There are law firms that have frat boy cultures and things that it can make it difficult for women or other people that aren't like that to fit in. My advice to you is that if you work at a firm like that, you don't feel like that's part of it, and you don't think you're going to you don't feel like you're part of it and you don't feel like you can advance. And that's something that you don't want to work a different way, that you should just go to a place where you feel more comfortable. And culture of the firm is one of the most important things there is. You want to make sure you're working in a firm that will do that. This question is, sometimes it feels like the higher ups in the firm make decisions that don't align with what's best for everyone. How do I navigate these situations without letting my discontent show and risking my staying with the firm? So you do not care if they're doing something illegal or they're doing something weird that you think that you don't like, and you don't care. So I saw an instance, this guy who's working at like Winston & Strawn in Los Angeles. We placed him there, and he had went to University of Chicago Law School. And I was meeting with he and my wife at the time. He was saying that he wanted to now switch firms. And I was sitting in this freaking sushi restaurant. This guy's insane. He wanted to switch firms because the firm was paying for valet parking or something in the building. There's a beautiful building downtown Los Angeles. And then they decided, as a cost saving measure, they were going to have everyone park across the street, all the associates in another parking garage. They would have to drive up and then cross the street to get to the car. This is why I wanted to switch firms. And this kind of thing is just crazy. Sometimes law firms will do things like they'll increase your billable hour requirement to get a bonus, or there's all sorts of things that law firms will do that people don't like. And you don't need to be the person that comes and makes problems. Or brings it to their attention. Because if you do that, they're just going to be mad at you and they're going to view you as a source of problems. So you are better off, if there are issues, not saying anything, being pleasant, allowing other people to get involved in this crap and piss off the firm and help you in the process. That's not, you just avoid these things. These are like landmines. You need to do everything you can to not get involved in this stuff. And so that's what I would say. Okay, this is stuff. I think I've answered enough questions. There are obviously a lot more, but you have to keep going and just to be out of here. It's not the road. But what I would say about this particular topic is your goal is to be associated with positive vibes, with good vibes instead of bad vibes, right? You want to go into things and people to like you. So you want people to think positively of you. You want people to want to see you, to want to, all these things. Your goal is to be as positive as possible. Like, you have to go into a firm and wherever you are and people see you and they like you. They don't think anything negative of you. They're positive. You like them. You're not creating problems. You're not talking to other people badly about them. You're just avoiding them. This is the best advice you possibly could get. In recruiting, I have this thing where, I have candidates and they'll go into interviews and won't get the job, or they will apply to firms through me and then won't get the interview. The firm will reject them. And my goal when I represent people, if I start telling, wow, you applied to 30 firms and 29 of them rejected you, they're not going to like me. They're going to be like, hey, even if there's some reason the person rejected, maybe they're applying to firms in California, a bar, I don't know. But all these things will happen. And we need to be very careful. We don't want people to associate us with negative news. So what does that mean? That means we don't call them and tell them, hey, this firm rejected you. And we don't tell them, hey, they interviewed you, but they're not going to hire you. Like, we're better off saying, yeah, they just don't have the work. It's not you. It's just this, and things change. Thank God you avoided a landmine, all those sorts of things. So you need people to associate you with positive things, not negative. And it's like that with my recruiting. If I tell people a bunch of bad news, they want nothing to do with. If I represent a candidate and they don't accept an offer with a firm, and it happens again, I know law firms going to think I did something wrong, and then they'll associate me with bad vibes. So you just need to do whatever you can to be associated with positive vibes. You avoid negativity in your firm. You try to be positive with everyone you encounter, and you don't get involved in negative things. You let other people do that, and that's the way you avoid landmines. Actually, I'm going to end this with a funny story I just thought of. So when I was in college, I was in a fraternity house for 3 years. Not necessarily proud of it, but it was actually the fraternity house that Animal House was based on. It was crazy. This place was nuts. And anyway, so I was there, and I don't know what I did. I was living in this fraternity house, and everyone there was like fighting and getting in these spats and everything. And going back and forth, and people were drinking too much and potting and whatever, drugs, and getting mad in fights. So what happened that was pretty funny is, and I studied all the time. I worked really hard. I didn't get involved with this fraternity as much as I could. I went to meetings and was at parties, and I wasn't really that involved. And so it came time in my junior year where a fraternity of like 50, 60 people or whatever needed to elect a president. So no one would run because other people wanted to run, but 5 or 6 people and myself, I think, wanted to run. And these 5 or 6 people, all of them dropped out except for me, because I just been in the background, creating problems, having to be nice to people and doing whatever I positions as steward, which is controlling the food coming in. And then I positioned as treasurer, but I just didn't get into trouble with anyone. And but by the time I ran, everyone else was just fighting and had all these problems with each other. And I was the only one standing. So I ran basically unopposed. The point is that just job. So the point is that you don't get involved in negative stuff. You do whatever you can to be associated with good vibes, and you succeed. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for being on this webinar. I do think that this, if you got this, what I said, I think you do. It could have been the most important webinar of your life that you've signed, and it can also help you turn around the direction of your career. So thank you so much. And I will talk to everyone next week.